The period known as the Golden Age of Islam commenced in the 8th century, characterized by flourishing knowledge, Islamic prosperity, and a renewed attention on the Middle East. During this era, the city of Baghdad emerged as the central hub of the Golden Age, renowned for its globally recognized progress and learning. With a population of 1 million people, Baghdad boasted numerous libraries overflowing with manuscripts and books, which were eagerly studied by scholars from all corners of the world who flocked to the Muslim capital. One of the most sought-after destinations for these visitors was the House of Wisdom, also known as Beit al-Hikmah, which was the biggest library in the city and played a pivotal role in driving the advancements in philosophy, science, and art during that time. During the Golden Age of Islam, which was truly remarkable, scholars and scientists who wanted to study literature, astronomy, medicine, and other fields were supported by the Abbasid Caliphate, which ruled over Baghdad. This support meant that there was a great deal of progress and innovation happening in the city. However, sadly, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. In the later years of Baghdad's glory, it was the Abbasid Caliphate that claimed the city as its capital. The Abbasids were the third Islamic caliphate to rule the Middle East since the time of the Prophet Muhammad, having defeated the Umayyad Caliphate in the 8th century. Their name was derived from the Prophet's uncle, Abbas, and their empire grew rapidly to include territories ranging from Arabia to the Levant and Syria in the north. The Abbasids were a powerful force that held sway over vast territories ranging from Africa to Iraq and beyond. However, their strength would be put to the test when they faced the Mongols, very different from the Abbasids in their way of life. The Mongols were a nomadic people who rarely settled down and frequently clashed with more settled societies such as the Abbasid Caliphate. The Mongols were notorious for their brutal battle strategy and terror tactics, which included the use of clashing pots and pans and aggressive rattling of bells. These tactics were so effective that they even inspired the construction of the Great Wall of China. The speed with which the Mongols attacked would make it seem that those who came under their rule were likely to become the next victims. While they would typically offer the option of surrender to local rulers before launching an attack, the refusal of such an offer often led to widespread destruction and bloodshed. Despite not being settlers, the Mongols were still driven to conquer land and create more space for their roaming people. Consequently, when a man named Temujin united the Mongols and assumed the name Genghis Khan, it set off a chain reaction that would ultimately culminate in the burning of Baghdad. As Genghis Khan's grandson, Hulagu, ascended to power, the Mongol Empire continued to expand. Hulagu Khan extended his authority through Syria and was in the process of consolidating his hold over the lands of the Ilkhanate of Persia. Hulagu's conflict with the Shiite group known as the Assassins was just the beginning of his clashes with the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad. The Abbasids had become weaker politically and militarily over the years, and had even resorted to paying tribute to the Mongols. However, the current caliph, al-Mustasim, did not perceive the Mongols as a significant threat, despite having heard rumors of Hulagu's intentions. Al-Mustasim was influenced by his Grand Vizier, who is believed to have had his own hidden agenda that was not in the best interests of the caliphate. The ruler's expression was solemn, possibly due to the fact that the caliph had previously committed acts that deeply offended many of his Shia Muslim subjects, including his Grand Vizier. Consequently, it is widely believed that the caliph's advisor was the one who not only welcomed but also invited the Mongol invasion. Although this claim remains a topic of discussion, it is clear that the caliph did not recognize the Mongols' determination and strength for some reason. Al-Mustasim should have recognized the seriousness of Hulagu's demand for his and Baghdad's surrender when he received a letter. Shockingly, the caliph is said to have replied with no response. The caliph faced an ultimatum from the Mongols: either they would go back to where they came from or besiege the city. However, the caliph believed that the Muslim world would unite to defend Baghdad if the Mongols dared to attack. But he soon realized that this was not true. On January 29, 1258, the Mongols laid siege to the center of the Islamic Golden Age, the great city of knowledge, which had a weak and poorly supplied army. The caliph expected the Muslim world to respond strongly, but they showed a lukewarm response. The Mongols were skilled in warfare, and it didn't take long for the caliph to change his mind and request to negotiate. Negotiations with Hulagu failed, as the Mongol Khan rejected the caliph's pleas. The Mongols had offered a peaceful surrender, but it was only a one-time offer that had already expired. The siege continued until Caliph al-Mustasim unconditionally surrendered on February 10, 1258. The Mongols accepted his surrender, but there was no immediate action for the next 3 days. The citizens of Baghdad were anxious and waiting for what would happen next, not knowing the horrors that awaited them. On February 13th, Hulagu and his men entered the city, and they gave only one warning to the Nestorian Christians: to lock themselves in their church and not to come out. This message was likely Hulagu's promise, possibly to protect them. The Nestorian Christian mother and wife of Hulagu were promised safety if they locked themselves in their church. However, the rest of Baghdad was not shown any mercy. The Mongols pillaged and killed for a week, even executing nobles of the city. The caliph's fate is uncertain, with 2 different theories about what happened to him. One theory suggests that he was imprisoned in a room filled with his gold and treasures and died of starvation. Another theory claims that Hulagu had him wrapped in a carpet and trampled to death by horses, as he believed that the caliph was responsible for the death of his envoys. The spilling of royal blood on Baghdad's land was believed to cause disastrous natural events, so Caliph al-Musta'sim was wrapped in one of his own rugs to prevent blood spillage and trampled to death. Despite the cause of his death, the last ruler of the Islamic Golden Age met his end with his city. The death toll of the tragedy has been estimated to range from 90,000 to 1 million people, including soldiers and civilians. The city was almost completely destroyed, and what remained was set on fire. The Tigris River is said to have turned red with blood from the massacre, but the conquerors began throwing the bodies of the slain into the river, causing the water to turn black. Countless books and manuscripts were thrown into the water, amounting to hundreds of thousands. Eyewitnesses reported that the ink of the priceless texts caused the Tigris to turn black. As a result, the House of Wisdom and all its valuable contents were destroyed. The siege and destruction of Baghdad in 1258 was not only a loss for the Abbasids or the Muslim world, but a tragedy that affected the whole world. An era of prosperity, knowledge, art, and much more had come to an end. There are hundreds of thousands of texts that will never be read again, resulting in centuries of lost learning and progress that could have been achieved. The fall of Baghdad was a devastating loss for humanity. The fall of Baghdad marked the end of a center that was vital to a growing world and had provided life for people around the globe who traveled for days to study at the House of Wisdom. Sadly, too many people have now forgotten the significance of this event. If you're loving what you're seeing and learning, we would greatly appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you'll never miss a new upload and will always be in the loop on the latest fascinating historical topics we cover.